Hey guys, Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana. We are a couple days before the trade deadline. I'm guessing this YouTube video is going to be coming out on Tuesday to give you a couple days heads up, and hopefully it's not already outdated because, as you know, things in the NBA move swift. But as we saw, Caris LeVert just got traded to the Cavaliers to make them a much more formidable factor in the East. So we're going to look at 5 players that I think could be on the move. It's sort of a trick question because the fifth open quotes player, close quote, is actually 4 players who all play for the same team, who are all exactly the same player and the same size. At least one, maybe 2 of which are going to get moved before the deadline. I would be astonished if they aren't. So without any delay, let's get cranking here. We are going to first talk about player number 1, and that is none other than CJ McCollum, who finds himself in trade talks every single season in Portland. I've got on a card ladder pulled up on your screen here his 2013 Prism Silver PSA 10. You guys may be accustomed to seeing Prism Silvers in the hundreds or thousands. 2012 and 2013 are a different beast, fellas. If you're a collector and you're not familiar with 2012 and 2013, even 2014, 15, they did not make as many silvers back then as they do now. So while Luka may be over 2,000 silver PSA 10s, CJ McCollum is popped 16, and I don't anticipate many more being added because those cards are very difficult to grade. Let me tell you, because I have examined thousands and thousands of 2012 raw Prism because I'm chasing the base set, and the silver are even harder to grade. If there's even the most minute scratch in 2012 and 2013, you cannot hide it because there's so much sheer silver on that surface. Even little hairline scratches, they're glaring and they're noticeable and they're unavoidable. And so you're looking at a pop 16 card. I've got on here the last 3 months and there's nothing to see. I've got on here the last 6 months and there's been 2 sales. I don't know what happens to CJ McCollum's card value if he gets traded. Reasons for him to get traded. Once again, Lillard, it looks like they may shelf him for the entire season. He's not doing well. They don't want to bring him back and chance it because they're not performing very well. CJ McCollum is a player that can jump into one of those kind of borderline teams, similar to the Cavs who picked up LeVert. He's the type of player. He's better than LeVert just because he's more established, but he can jump into one of those 4th, 5th, 6th seeded teams. For instance, imagine if he somehow got to the Dallas Mavericks or a team like that, just to become a secondary ball handler and a little bit of a creator and a shot maker. He's a true pro. He's a veteran. He's kind of taken my guy Anthony Simons under his wing and made him into who he is. I wish it would have happened a little bit sooner, but it is what it is. And so the emergence of Simon, the certainty now that Simon is going to be a relevant starting combo guard in the NBA gives the Blazers the kind of flexibility to move McCollum in his contract and kind of hit the reset button. He's not on my list of 5 players, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they tried to move Nurkic. They've already moved Covington and Norman Powell, and when you move those 2 guys to an opponent in a rival in the Western Conference, it leads me to believe we give up. And I think they have given up. Now, whether they'll try to move Lillard or not, I don't know. It's hard to move players when they're injured. Lillard is a franchise guy. He's been as loyal gets. He's been as patient gets. So I don't know if Lillard's going to be on the move, but I would be shocked if CJ McCollum did not get moved before this trade deadline. At the very least, he's gone this summer. There's no way they're going to keep Simons, McCollum, and Lillard. They just need too much help elsewhere, especially now that they've sent both of their relevant rotation wings, Powell and Nasir Little's hurt for the season. Powell's gone. Covington's gone. They've got to do something. And so I think they're literally trying to clean the entire house out. I shudder to think at what this roster is going to look like next to Anthony Simons for the rest of the year. He will definitely get his FGAs, Russell Westbrook style. But here's the thing to note about McCollum, and this is something that I want you guys to remember as collectors, and I don't want it to sound like I'm sitting here lecturing or preaching to you guys, but I kind of call it the Mitch Richmond theory. You can pick a prospect, you can nail the prospect, you can get the right card, his Silver Prism PSA 10, Pop 16. The player can explode and turn into a borderline all-star, fantastic NBA player, the second best player on his NBA team, and it's still have no effect and not make you any money as an investor. I mean, look at McCollum. He's a great example. He's kind of like the modern day Mitch Richmond. 20.8, 23, 21, 21, 22, 23, 20.5. If I told you right now, if you're investing in a prospect and your prospect is, Miles Bridges, or your prospect is, I'm trying to think of some Tyler Hero. If I said, hey, I'll guarantee you Tyler Hero will score over 20 points a game for 7 consecutive seasons, would you take it? I bet you would. And that is exactly what McCollum has done with a pretty relevantly decent field goal percentage and an exceptional career 3-point percentage, just under 40%, and shooting 82% from the line. He's an efficient player. He's a really good player. He's just not a perennial all-star type player because he has to share the ball with Lillard. Does he get better when he leaves? Maybe. It just depends on his destination. But this is a tale of caution in the hobby, that just because you pick a guy that's going to be a 20-point per game scorer, that does not mean it's going to be reflected in his card values. And that's even if you pick the exact right card. Enough about McCollum. He's player number 1. He's the player that I think I'm most certain will be traded. Player number 2 on our list is none other than James Harden. I know some of you guys, if you're watching this video and you pay attention to the NBA and you follow Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski on Instagram or Twitter, or TikTok or Facebook or whatever else y'all are on. I'm only on Instagram and Facebook, but if you follow Woj, he said today that Harden is DNP CD. And what that means for those of you who don't watch enough NBA basketball is that he did not play coach's decision, which means he's not hurt. It just means the coach has decided to hold him out. What that tells me, along with the fact that he's shopping for a new agent, is that a deal is in the works with Philly. It's ramping up. We've got, I think, about 72 hours or 96 hours until the trade deadline. I think this is really going to happen. As a Bucks fan, I'm super upset about this because, honestly, I consider the Sixers with Harden, Maxey, Tobias Harris, Korkmaz / Tybal, and Embiid, who is playing out of his freaking mind and perfectly healthy right now. I consider that team more of a threat than the Nets team with their big 3 and no interior presence offensively at all. And 2 sieves on defense. Sieves meaning horrific defenders in Kyrie Irving and James Harden. So I think the Nets with their big 3, including Harden, is not nearly as big of a threat to my Bucks in the East, which I get it. Also, Chicago and the Heat are in the mix, but that Nets big 3 is not as big a threat as the Sixers will be if Harden goes there. Now, the real question, and I forgot about Seth Curry, the real question is, if Harden goes to the Sixers, do the Sixers have to give up active roster players in addition to Ben Simmons, or can they, structure some type of deal where it involves Ben and then picks or future picks or pick swaps or some crap like that? My guess is they may need to part with some active roster players right now that would also help the Nets get better. The flip side of this is, as a Bucks fan, or if you're a Bulls fan or a Heat fan, you're also not going to be happy with the Nets because, honestly, in my opinion, I know this is going to sound crazy and a lot of people may click the unsubscribe button, but I think the Nets are better with Ben Simmons and Kyrie and Durant. They don't need a third alpha, crazy, freakish top 10 scorer of all time when you've got a healthy Kyrie and a Durant. Now, again, this all hinges on this vaccine shit going away and Kyrie being able to play in every single game. If Kyrie can't play in every single game, the Nets do not get out of the East, period. I don't care what anybody says. They don't get out of the East with Harden and Durant. They do not get out of the East with Simmons and Durant. You've got to have a healthy Kyrie for all the games for them to push through and win the East and challenge for the NBA title this year. But this trade could make both teams better. A lot of people forget, yes, Ben Simmons has got some wacko mental block or whatever where he disappeared in the playoffs. But if you ask NBA GMs and NBA personnel and his peers in the league, he might be the best top to bottom defender in the entire league, and he has the ability to single-handedly disrupt another team's offense by guarding 1 through 4 arguably won through certain fives, some fives. Not many people in the NBA can do that. Giannis comes to mind, but Ben is an even more elite defender than Giannis. Yes, I said it, and nobody's more biased than me. So this trade in particular, I do not want to happen, but it looks damn likely that it is going to happen because it's going to create two juggernauts in the East. It's going to make both those teams better, in my opinion. Comment below. I know y'all are going to hate me for saying that, but those are my thoughts on this matter. Let me know what you guys think if this trade gets done. Again, it depends on what Philly has to give up to get Harden to make this work. They may have to give players for, salary reasons or whatever. And that's the other thing, guys. I have not run this through the trade machine. I've given this very little thought other than I think these dudes are on the move. I think the teams will figure it out. I haven't thought about matching up salary cap and all that, luxury tax stuff. I don't get into all that. I'll leave that for Woj and all the smart guys, Tom Penn, all those guys that talk about this stuff on the trade machine at the trade deadline on ESPN. Number 3, this would be music to my ears. Darren Fox, it's time. It's run its course. These guys in Sacramento, the management is incompetent. They're spinning their wheels. It happens year after year. They draft poorly. They make stupid decisions. They never seem to get it right. They don't get the right free agents. I mean, everything is a disaster. You've got Fox, Davion Mitchell, and Hield. That's a really small 1, 2, 3. Harrison Barnes is actually Harrison Barnes was probably more likely to get traded than Fox, but Fox is more important and a bigger piece, and so that's why I picked Fox as my player number 3. You're looking here at his PSA 10 silver card. It's at 265. Look what this card was at a year ago, fellas. Fox is a monster. I don't care what anybody says. This card pushed $1,000 last year. Okay. Now, if you look at it in the last 3 months, it's continued to dip a little bit, and it's because he's being held out. I know he's had some little knick-knack injuries, but I think he's being held out because of the trade deadline coming up. It's similar to the way that Harden was held out of last game. If you go look at Fox's numbers, I don't think people realize, let's look at what he's doing this year. He's played 43 games. I think they're about 53, 54 into the season, something like that. He's averaging 21, 3.8, 5.2. He's shooting the ball right on his career field goal percentage, but his threes are a disaster, right? I don't know what's happened. His threes have taken a huge hit. I mean, these are Westbrook type numbers, Doncic type numbers. It's really bad. 24.8 is a really bad 3-point percentage. He's shooting his free throws better, and that's just kind of inversely correlative. That doesn't make sense. I mean, usually if people are shooting the 3 ball well, their free throw percentage, will increase commensurate with that. We're not seeing that. He is having a down year, and part of it might just be his team sucks. I don't know what else to say. The Kings suck. They're stuck in limbo. And they have not drafted well, and it's a shame because Fox is an absolute monster. The kid's 24 years old. If you look at his numbers last year, I've got it here highlighted on the screen. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. 25.2, 3.5 rebounds, 7.2 assists, 1.5 steals is a monstrous number. He shot the free throws very poorly last year, but look at his effective field goal percentage, up at 52.3%, 32% from 3. So we kind of thought he was making a little bit of progress, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's mechanics. I don't know if it was his off season or what, but he's 8% lower than he was last year, shooting 24.8%. I mean, that's a paltry number. He's not even making a 3 per game. Honestly, at this point, he might want to just try to be Rajon Rondo and just dominate the game in other ways and just take fewer threes. But anyway, Darren Fox is my player number 3. Let me know in the comments what team you'd like to see Swipe of the Fox go to. He is an absolute animal in waiting. Him, Darius Garland, John Morant, the NBA future at the point guard position. And there's others, LaMelo, that I left out. Trey, Doncic, if you want to call him point guard. He's 6'8", 240, whatever. You can call him whatever you want. The point guard position in the NBA is in an unbelievable place right now, and I can't wait to see it unfold over the next 10 years. Okay, player number 4, real easy here, guys. I'm not even going to show you his stats because y'all know he's a damn monster and he's a franchise player. And yes, I'm loaded up on his cards, so yes, I'm biased. I do not like the Celtics. I do not like the situation with him and Tatum. I think both of them would get better if and when Jalen gets traded. I don't think any young, absolute, bona fide, proven superstar is more talked about in trade rumors than this dude right here. You can see the pop even back in 2016. Panini has not chased the money yet in 2016. They didn't do that until 2018. You're looking at a pop 244 card, his Prism Silver PSA 10. It's worth $592 today. Around the last one sold around $600 last week. That's 3 months, so it's kind of steady because he's playing out of his mind. Again, he is, over and over outplaying Tatum. If you go look at their numbers in detail, he outplays Tatum, and that doesn't take into account that he's a significantly better defender than Tatum, who has improved, don't get me wrong, but Jaylen Brown has exceeded all expectations, and I think he's surpassed Tatum. So I'm not sure why they're always talking about trading him. He's a pro's pro off the court, not that Tatum's not, but he's a super brilliant dude. If you've never heard him speak in public, I think he's a future president of the NBA Players Association one day. He's that sharp, y'all. But let's look at what his card's done. This card has been, when all the silvers have taken a hit, we know that. This silver card got up to 1676. I mean, that's a big number. And now the card, you see, that was the spike. Obviously, that was right in the square at the end of that first quarter 2021 where all the cards peaked. It went back up as recently as October of this year to 1,200 because he's putting up some filthy numbers. We're not going to get into his numbers. They're fantastic. Go compare him to Tatum. Go to basketballreference.com, hit compare players, and compare those two guys. But don't forget to take into account defense and the effect he has on the other end of the court. Again, not that Tatum is an awful defender, but I think Jaylen's a very elite defender, potential All-NBA defensive player one day. All right, here's the trick. Player number 5 is actually 4 players in one, okay? We're talking about the San Antonio Spurs 6'4" quadruplets, okay? We've got Derek White, we've got Lonnie Walker, we've got Devin Vassell, and then we've got not pictured Joshua Primo. Sorry, I ate popcorn. I should not have done that before this video. Okay, so Derek White, Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell, and Joshua Primo. These guys, if you look at the San Antonio roster, it's almost comical. And I understand like stockpiling assets, but Lonnie Walker is 6'4", 204. Derek White is 6'4", 190. DeJounte Murray is 6'4", 180. Joshua Primo is 6'4", 190. And down here, you'll see Devin Vassell is 6'5", 200. So you've got 5 guys that are the exact same size. And while that's great if they're all 6'7", 6'8", like up in Toronto when you got Barnes and Achua and Boucher and OG and Anunoby and Siakam, that's great if they're 6'8" and they can switch everything. These guys are 6'4" and they weigh under 200 pounds. They ain't switching shit. They switch onto a 3 or 4, as Shaq would say, it's barbecue chicken. All of them have their pros and cons. If I had to rank them in order of prospecting, clearly DeJounte Murray is a bona fide stud. He might even get the reserve all-star spot because I think Draymond is hurt. Don't quote me on this, but I think DeJounte, maybe I missed it, I think DeJounte Murray is going to get Draymond Green's injury spot in the Western Conference, even though the Spurs suck. So obviously DeJounte Murray is going nowhere. He's a franchise point guard. He's fantastic on both ends. And I add him to my list of the NBA being in great hands from the point guard position. After him, you've got Lonnie, you've got Derek, you've got Josh Primo and Vassell. In order of who I would prioritize, I like Josh Primo. I've seen great things from Josh Primo. We've seen enough of Derek White to know exactly what he is. I think he's the type of piece that would help a team like the Lakers or some of these old teams out there that just need youth and like another ball handler, a shot maker, and I shouldn't say a shot maker, but a decent shot maker and a little bit of playmaking. So Derek White's just kind of like about the same size as Malik Monk, but he's young. He's he's pretty energetic. He can do some good things. He's 27 years old. So if they're going to let one go, I'm letting Derek White go first. I am letting Devin Vassell go second. I'm not a Devin Vassell fan. I haven't seen it yet, guys. I know he's only 21. I'm the first one to tell you don't give up on dudes when they're 21, okay? They have not even remotely approached their prime. Derek White, I think we've seen what we're going to see. I don't think Derek White takes a step and becomes an all-star. I don't think he's a starting combo guard in the NBA. Lonnie Walker, it's hard to say because you see flashes, but he's almost turning into a 3-and-D. Which I thought he was going to be much more than that. So, I don't have any cards of any of these guys. I liquidated my DeJounte Murray for a little bit of a profit way too early. So, don't take my advice on when to sell and prospecting. In fact, I'll be the first one to tell you I have no clue. But you never feel bad about taking profits, albeit less profits than I should have taken on that DeJounte Murray situation. So I would probably rank Derek White the most likely to go, Vassell next, and then I would probably it's a toss-up between Lonnie Walker and Joshua Primo. I like what Joshua Primo does, but here's the thing: they don't need to trade one of these guys. They need to trade 2 or 3 of these guys. Okay, at least 2 of these guys. They need to clear space. These are players that other teams would love to take a flyer on. I mean, how much would Orlando? How much would Detroit like to have a decent 2 guard? Have you ever watched Killian Hayes play basketball? I mean, it's like I can go to LA Fitness in Baton Rouge and go find somebody to play Killian Hayes' position. Derek White's an upgrade. Lonnie Walker's an upgrade. Joshua Primo's an upgrade. Devin Vassell's an upgrade on Killian Hayes. I don't see it with him. And I'm sure I just lost a lot of friends. So forgive me if you're a big Killian Hayes guy. But he's awful. Watch the games on League Pass because that's the only place you're going to find Detroit basketball games. So that's kind of my fifth deal. If you want to look at their cards, you want to see something really funny, and I feel terrible because there's a local, I don't want to call him a collector because he's an investor here in town. We'll call him Jeff. We'll call him that because that is his name. I will not give you his last name. He was really big into Derek White and bought early and really could have hit a home run. When I say early, I mean early. So before 2020 probably. And then you can see Derek White's silver PSA 10s got up to 200, 300, 150, 206, 270, 270, 225. I think he held. I hope he got out, but I don't think he did. And oh my gosh, look at what it's worth today. One just sold 7 days ago for $20. It costs $50 to grade a card at PSA. He might get traded. And like Cameron Reddish's cards, his cards may spike at $20 a card. There's only 145 silver PSA 10s out there. And my guess is a bunch of investors are sitting on chunks of them. But if you can grab 5 or 6 of these, and that's $120. If they can bounce to 125, well, you just made $500. That's a pretty good short-term flip. Again, that's assuming he gets traded. If we go look at Lonnie Walker, same deal. His cards got up here, not quite the disparity of Derek White, and not quite the drop of Derek White, because I think people are seeing he's younger. He's 23 or 24. He's a little more talented. His last card sold 4 days ago for $50. A little bit higher pop, but still worth more than Derek White. And he never hit the peak that Derek White did, but nevertheless, his cards were much higher earlier in the game. So 2 guys you may want to speculate on and scoop up a bunch of them if you can. I'm not out here telling you to go buy a bunch of base and silver prism, but I mean, shit, when the price point's that low, it's like, how much do you have to lose? I mean, if he shows up as a starter on a team or goes to play for a horrible team like Detroit or something like that, I got to believe he's 20 plus per game easily for the last 30 games of the season, right? Devin Vassell is the third option. No, obviously Card Ladder doesn't have any PSA 10s because there's just not enough of them because PSA shut down, so nobody graded them. So $12 for a raw. Again, very low risk. Go buy 10 raws for $120, and who knows? Maybe Devin Vassell gets shipped out. I keep saying Detroit, Sacramento, not Sacramento because they got a glut of guards, but a team like that. And then Joshua Primo is a prospect that I really like. I don't know how much you guys have gotten to see him. He's not getting crazy minutes in San Antonio, but he's super talented. And there's just too many people there, man. There's just too many people, and I'm an expert on watching my prospects sit on the bench behind players who play their positions because I've had to do it before with Kevin Porter Jr. and Anthony Simons and a few other guys. So I'm used to it. I have no problem with it, and that's why I think Joshua Primo is probably the best one. But I think 1, maybe 2 of those guys get moved at the trade deadline because the San Antonio Spurs have no other purpose this year other than to build their roster and mold it into what they think they want going forward. And you only need 2 or 3 guys at that position at that size. You don't need 5 of them in their early 20s. It just doesn't make sense. They've seen enough to know who's going to pan out and who's not, because they see them practice every day and we don't. But anyway, guys, that's it. Those are my 5 guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I just kind of put this together, on a whim. I didn't put much research into it. I kind of had the names. I've been talking about it with my friends and my collector friends here in Baton Rouge for about a week now. Just kind of getting excited, as a Fox owner, I'm super excited. As a Bucks owner, I'm super frightened because I don't want another threat in the East to get stronger, let alone two of them get stronger. As a Jalen collector and investor from the very jump, I was buying Jalen Brown. I've always loved him. I would really like to see him get released and then just kick ass and just leave Tatum in the dust. I don't know what it is. I've created a rivalry. I'm sure they get along great and they love each other, but I've always just disliked Tatum because he got all the attention and all the shots when Jalen, I thought, should have been getting just as much attention and as many or more shots because he's also an efficient player. Again, no slight to Tatum. He's a really good offensive player, and I think he is a franchise type player for sure. And I actually got to coach against him in the Nike EYBL when he was a sophomore. He was playing in there when most of the other guys were juniors. And then you've got this four-headed monster in San Antonio. I think one or two of those guys get traded. So anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks for joining me. Hope you liked the video. I'm already at 25 minutes. It's crazy. I talk fast and I still take forever. I apologize for that. Subscribe to the channel if you like what you're seeing. Like and comment, blah, blah, blah. Same stuff every content creator is asking you to do. But one thing I will ask you to do is, if you don't mind, send the link to your friends and say, hey, subscribe to this. He talks about investing. He talks about collecting. He talks about ultra modern. He talks about 90s. I will run the gambit. I'm talking about just NBA stuff. It's not all card related stuff. Sometimes we talk about the league just to talk about the league and talk about prospects, but we also talk about all-star voting and trade deadlines and MVP voting and who's going to win the title. And I'm going to do tons of videos on historical NBA, not trivia, but like debates, ranking the 10 greatest players of all time, ranking the 10 best dynasties, ranking the 5, best teams of all time, who's the best big 3 of all time. Guys, I've got unlimited stuff flowing through my brain. I drink too many energy drinks and I don't sleep because I'm constantly thinking about ideas and things to talk about. And down here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as I'm sure you can imagine, we don't have too many people around here to talk to the NBA about. So you guys are my outlet, and I've really had fun making these videos. But anyway, keep collecting, have fun in the hobby, and stay positive, and peace, fellas.